Hello and welcome to this channel. Could you survive 72 hours trapped underground after an earthquake or a volcanic eruption or some other kind of disaster? That's what we're going to find out today. We'll look at how people have survived in these situations, what it takes to survive for 3 days without food, water, or medical attention, and finally, we'll see what experts say about whether or not we could really make it if we were trapped underground for 72 hours. First, let's take a look at what has happened in the past. In October 2013, a 7.2 magnitude earthquake hit Mexico. One woman was trapped under her collapsed bedroom floor for 11 days. She survived by drinking salty water that collected in the rubble and eating nothing because there wasn't anything to eat. She drank water that probably had bacteria and minerals dissolved in it, but it kept her hydrated enough to survive. When rescuers finally reached her, she had lost 45 kilos during those 11 days, but she was alive. In another case, a man spent 7 days trapped underwater after a landslide at a construction site in Taiwan. He was working with a few other men when the wall of soil collapsed. He managed to escape through a small opening in the debris, but he couldn't get his co-workers out. All 3 died. The survivor was eventually found and rescued after 7 days. He had drunk salty ocean water that filled his helmet. It was later discovered that he had swallowed almost 3 liters of salt water during that time. Doctors said that he didn't have any serious health problems despite drinking so much salt water. There are also cases where people have survived for days underground after being trapped in elevators. For example, in 2016, 2 teenagers got stuck in an elevator in Bulgaria for 5 days. They were found alive and well after their school caretaker noticed that they hadn't gotten off the elevator and reported them missing. The elevator was old and outdated, and the teenagers had no phone signal or way to call for help from inside. However, they did have access to fresh air through a small opening at the top of the elevator shaft, which is likely what allowed them to survive. Now, let's talk about what it takes to survive for 3 days without food, water, or medical attention. Most experts agree that you can survive for 3 days without food, but it's important to remember that everyone is different, and your mileage may vary. Some people have managed to survive for much longer than 3 days without food, while others haven't been able to make it quite as long. The average person has enough energy stored in their body to go 3 days without food, but you may be able to go longer if you've recently eaten, or if you're in good physical condition. If you don't have enough food reserves in your body, you'll start to feel hungry within a few hours of your last meal. But the feeling of hunger should go away after a day or 2. You may also feel tired and weak, but again, this will improve over time. You need water to survive, but the exact amount of water you need varies depending on your environment. In general, you should drink at least 1 and 2 liters of water per day. But if it's hot outside, or if you're exercising, you'll need to drink more. Not getting enough water can lead to dehydration, which can cause headaches, dizziness, fatigue, and even death. Of course, if you have access to food, water, and medical care, you'll be much more likely to survive being trapped underground for 72 hours. But what if you don't have those things? What if you're trapped underground and it doesn't look like anyone is coming to rescue you anytime soon? Well, the first thing you should do is try to stay calm. Panic will only use up your energy reserves and make it harder to survive. The next thing you should do is try to find a way to get fresh air. If you can't find an opening in the ceiling or walls, try digging a hole with your bare hands. This will be difficult, but it's important to keep your head clear so that you can make good decisions and increase your chances of survival. If you're trapped in a place where there's fresh air but no water, you should try to conserve your energy. Stay still and don't move around too much. Try to keep your body as still as possible and don't make any sudden movements. You want to avoid using up your energy reserves. If you're trapped in a place where there's water but no fresh air, you should try to stay awake. The more active you are, the more likely you are to be rescued. Don't go to sleep because you don't know how long it will take before you're rescued. You want to be alert and ready when that happens. Finally, if you're trapped in a place where there's neither fresh air nor water, you should try to do whatever you can to get rescued. Shout for help, bang on the walls, try to dig yourself out. Do whatever you can to make noise and attract attention. So what do experts say? Could you really survive 72 hours trapped underground? Well, the answer depends on the situation. If you're trapped in an earthquake, your chances of survival are higher than if you're trapped in a cave. According to the Red Cross, 70% of people trapped in earthquakes survive, but only 25% of people trapped in caves survive. Of course, there are exceptions to these statistics. There have been cases where people have survived for much longer than 72 hours in both earthquakes and caves. But these are rare cases. If you're trapped in an earthquake, you should try to protect your head and neck with your arms. If possible, try to get under something sturdy like a table or desk. If you're trapped in a cave, you should try to stay calm and conserve your energy. Try to find a safe place away from the entrance where you can curl up and wait for help to arrive. The bottom line is that it is possible to survive 72 hours trapped underground, but it's not easy. It takes a combination of luck, preparedness, and sheer determination to make it through such a traumatic experience. If you ever find yourself trapped underground, remember to stay calm, conserve your energy, and do whatever you can to get rescued. And now it's time for you to tell us your story. Have you ever been trapped underground? How did you escape? Share your story in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content. Thanks for watching.